WTF History? The horrifying reign of Tiberius the Perverse. Hey there, history freaks. Welcome back to WTF History, where we dig up the wildest, darkest, most jaw-dropping stories from the past. Today, we're diving into the twisted saga of Tiberius, a Roman emperor who went from war hero to a name so vile. Romans had to invent new words to describe his depravity. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a descent into a nightmare that gripped an empire for 23 years. Buckle up, because this story starts with a broken heart and ends with an empire praying for a monster's death. Picture Rome, 12 BC. The city's alive with ambition, politics, and drama that makes modern reality TV look like a snooze fest. At the center is Tiberius Claudius Nero, a guy who's more at home on a battlefield than in a banquet hall. He's a celebrated general, stoic, a bit awkward, but when he speaks, people listen. And right now, he's got something rare in the cutthroat world of Roman nobility, love. Tiberius is married to Vipsania Agrippina, a woman who gets him. She doesn't care that he's not a smooth talker or that he prefers military camps to marble palaces. They got a son, Drusus, who's the light of Tiberius's grim world. This little family is his anchor, proof that even a hardened soldier can build something good. But Rome doesn't care about feelings, especially not when Augustus is calling shots. Augustus, Rome's first emperor, is the ultimate puppet master, and he's got plans, big plans, that don't include Tiberius's happiness. His daughter, Julia, needs a new husband after her last one died. And who's the perfect candidate? Tiberius, of course. There's just one problem. Tiberius is already married, and he's crazy about Vipsania. Imagine you're him. Years of fighting wars, securing borders, doing everything Rome asks. And now your stepfather, the emperor, says, "Divorce the love of your life and marry my daughter." It's for the empire. Tiberius tries to say no. He argues, pleads, drags his feet, but Augustus doesn't play games. Resistance is one step from treason, and treason means death. So in 12 BC, Tiberius is forced to divorce Vipsania. This moment is where everything starts to unravel. Picture Tiberius, heart shattered, standing outside Vipsania's new home, watching her walk by with her new husband. He's not supposed to be there, but he can't stop himself. Servants whisper about seeing him at odd hours, just staring like a ghost who doesn't know he's dead. One day, Vipsania spots him in the forum. Their eyes lock, and she runs. He stands frozen, watching her disappear into the crowd, and something inside him breaks. For the last time in his life, people see Tiberius weep. Now, let's talk about Julia. She's not thrilled about this marriage either. She's sharp, ambitious, and plays Roman politics like a pro. But unlike Tiberius, who drowns in grief, Julia chooses revenge. Their wedding night is a disaster. She mocks his awkward attempts at intimacy, throwing his insecurities in his face. The marriage bed becomes a battlefield, and Julia doesn't hold back. She takes lovers, openly, shamelessly, making sure Tiberius knows every detail. She comes home wearing their gifts, describing their skills in ways that cut deeper than any sword. Tiberius, the guy who commanded legions with unshakable calm, starts to crack. Servants notice it first. The stern but fair general is gone, replaced by a man who might forgive a spilled cup of wine one day, and order 50 lashes for the same mistake the next. It depends on whether he's seen Vipsania that day, whether her loss has torn open the wound again. Out on the battlefield, his cruelty starts to show. The general who once granted mercy to enemies now invents new ways to make them suffer. One German chieftain surrenders, expecting fair treatment. Tiberius makes him watch his entire family executed before taking his own life. This isn't war, it's personal. Then there's the drinking. Tiberius, the disciplined soldier, starts hitting the wine hard. It dulls the pain of Julius. Humiliations, but it brings out darker thoughts. He starts keeping lists, names of people who've wronged him, real or imagined. Every slight, every whisper gets written down with obsessive precision. Julia's slaves talk about strange punishments. A hairdresser who pulls too hard gets her fingers broken, one by one. A cupbearer who's too slow holds heavy jugs until his arms give out, then gets beaten for spilling. Tiberius's obsession with Vipsania doesn't stop. He's still stalking her, ignoring her new husband's complaints to the magistrates. Who's going to arrest the emperors? Son-in-law? No one. But if losing Vipsania was the wound, what comes next pours poison into it. In 9 AD, a messenger arrives with news that hits like a battering ram. Drusus, Tiberius's son, is dead. The physicians suspect poison. Drusus was everything Tiberius wasn't. Charismatic, confident, a natural leader at 23, groomed to inherit the empire. His death mask shows his final moments. Mouth twisted, eyes bulging. The poison was crafted to maximize suffering, to make sure Drusus knew he was dying. Tiberius's grief doesn't look like tears anymore. It's rage, cold and calculated. He launches an investigation, but it's not about justice. It's vengeance. He questions everyone who had access to Drusus's food and drink, asking bizarre things, their dreams, their fears, whether they believe in the afterlife. The list of suspects grows: a wine steward, a physician, a senator, a freedwoman near the kitchens. He creates categories: certain guilt, probable guilt, possible guilt, guilt by association. The executions begin. The wine steward is crucified, but the crossbeam is lowered so his toes touch the ground, dragging out his agony for days. The physician gets poisoned, diluted to mimic Drusus's slow death. Each punishment is personal, a signature of Tiberius's pain. It doesn't stop there. The physician's family, wife, 3 kids, are dragged in. Roman law says families aren't responsible for individual crimes, but Tiberius finds loopholes. The wife is charged with failing to report suspicious behavior. The eldest son, barely 16, is accused of conspiracy by silence. The younger kids are too young to execute, but Tiberius digs up ancient laws about corruption of blood, declaring entire bloodlines guilty. He forces ceremonies to declare them adults, then has them strangled the same day. Of a reign that's about to turn an empire into a prison. That prison starts taking shape when Tiberius makes a decision that changes everything. He's leaving Rome for good. Welcome back, WTF History fans, to the next chapter of this nightmare. The Eternal City, with its scheming senators and whispering crowds, is too much for Tiberius. He's done with Julia's taunts, done with memories of Vipsania and Drusus haunting every corner. So he picks Capri, a rocky island off Italy's coast, surrounded by cliffs and deep water. It's perfect, a fortress where no one can sneak up on him. And more importantly, no one can escape. Tiberius hires an architect named Kellis, a guy who's built palaces across the empire, but has never seen anything like this. Tiberius wants 12 villas, each with a specific purpose, and the details are straight out of a horror movie. Hidden passages connect the villas, so he can move unseen. Some rooms have drains in the floors, not for plumbing, but for other things. There are pools, but not for swimming. These are deep enough that an adult can't touch the bottom, shallow enough for someone watching from above to see everything. Underwater seats are carved into the sides. Heating systems keep the water, just right. Then there are chambers with hooks in the ceilings and restraints built into the walls. When Tiberius says he wants privacy, Kellus knows better than to ask questions. Curiosity gets you disappeared. The construction takes 2 years, shrouded in secrecy. Workers from distant provinces are split into groups, so no one knows the full plan. Once their part is done, they're shipped out. By the time it's finished, Capri is a self-contained world, answerable only to Tiberius. Supply ships bring food, wine, and other cargo. The first ships carry servants, young, attractive, chosen for reasons beyond cooking or cleaning. They come from places where no one will ask questions if they don't return. Later ships bring crates with air holes, bundles that move slightly, guarded by soldiers who've learned to follow orders without thinking. Tiberius's court is unlike any in history. Forget advisors and bureaucrats. He surrounds himself with the empire's darkest minds. There's Caracals, a physician kicked out of Rome for experiments that make your skin crawl. Nerva, a lawyer who twists laws to justify anything. Acelius, who ran an infamous brothel until his extreme practices got him in trouble. They sit around at dinner, debating philosophy and depravity like. It's all the same. Visitors call it scholarly corruption, unspeakable acts discussed with the calm of grain shipments. Capri becomes a magnet for the empire's worst. Shunned nobles, slave traders, artists who capture pain on canvas, all protected by Tiberius's power. Then there are the children. This is where it gets so dark, it's hard to talk about. Tiberius posts job listings in the empires. Poorest districts looking for swimming instructors for his pools. Children preferred. Desperate parents are offered deals. Send your kids to serve the emperor, and they'll learn skills. Send money home, live in luxury. It sounds too good to be true, and it is. Kids, mostly 6 to 10, arrive in covered wagons and sealed ships, dazzled by Capri's marble halls and endless food. The training starts innocently, swimming lessons in those strange pools. Instructors teach them to hold their breath, move gracefully underwater, weave between adult legs. Quick learners get sweets, soft beds, promises of wealth. But then the lessons get specific. They're taught to nibble gently, first on fruits, then on each other, under supervision. Those who bite too hard are punished. Those who hesitate are punished worse. They're called minnows, moving like schools of tiny fish, responding to hand signals. Approach, retreat. They develop a secret language, glances and touches too. Warn of Tiberius's moods. Parents who ask questions get silence, or worse. Tax audits, revoked licenses, disappearances. The kids get new names, octopus, starfish, erasing their pasts. They live in dormitories by the pools, their lives built around training and performance. One boy, Marcus from Brundisium, tries to escape, diving deep into the pool, thinking he can swim through. Underwater passages. But the pools are traps, with fake exits disguised by clever architecture. They find him hours later, drowned, clawing at stone he thought was freedom. Tiberius displays his body. To the other minnows, no escape, not even through death, without his permission. The psychological conditioning is relentless. They're told their families sold them, that only Tiberius's mercy keeps them alive. They compete for his approval, snitching on each other's doubts, their childhoods erased. Capri is now a nightmare factory, but Tiberius's reach is about to stretch far beyond the island, turning the entire empire into a web of fear where no one is safe. That web of fear is where we're headed next. WTF History. Crew. Tiberius has turned Capri into his personal horror show. But he's not content to stop there. By now, he's fully unhinged. Vipsania's loss broke his heart. Drusus's death snapped his sanity. He's ruling from Capri, but Rome is still his empire. And he's about to make it a prison where a single whisper can cost you everything. Enter the delator system, the dystopian nightmare of Tiberius's reign. Imagine a world where anyone, your neighbor, your cousin, your own kids, can get rich by accusing you of treason. That's what Tiberius creates. Speak against the emperor? Treason. Hear someone else badmouth him and don't report it? Complicity. Even thinking rebellious thoughts could get you in trouble, because suspicion is as good as proof. Accusations become a business. Take Marcus Calvus, a failed potter who finds he's got a knack for twisting words. He overhears a customer grumble about taxes, reports it as seditious speech, and boom, the customer's executed, and Marcus gets a cut of their property. Accusation plus execution equals profit. The rewards are huge. Informers get a quarter of the victim's estate. The imperial treasury takes another quarter to fund more investigations, and the rest goes to public works, making everyone complicit. It's a pyramid scheme of terror. Informers pop up everywhere. Merchants, freedmen, senators. They get creative. One guy calls dreams treasonous prophecies. Another claims he can spot sedition in your face during imperial speeches. There's even a guy who checks your pulse for disloyalty. Kids get roped in too. Parents teach them to eavesdrop at dinner. Report suspicious silences. Schools start loyalty classes where kids practice spotting treason in fake conversations. Families fall apart. Brothers turn on brothers for inheritance money. Wives accuse husbands to escape bad marriages. Kids testify against parents who discipline them too harshly. Trust becomes a luxury no one can afford. Friendships die because every chat is a potential death sentence. Informers don't just rely on words. They forge letters, stage fake meetings, plan evidence like rusted swords or foreign coins to suggest conspiracy. One guy, Fulcinius, perfects retroactive treason, accusing dead people of plotting years ago so their families lose everything. The system feeds itself. More accusations, more executions, more property to split, more informers. Back on Capri, Tiberius is loving this. He sees it as perfect governance. The empire polices itself while funding his rule through confiscations. But he's not just watching the chaos. He's innovating, turning the law into a torture device. Roman law used to have protections, like no executing virgins or kids under a certain age. Tiberius's lawyers, led by Nerva, find ways around that. Take a 12-year-old girl, daughter of a condemned senator. She's a virgin, so she can't be executed until they dig up an old military law saying enemies of Rome lose all. Protections. The executioner is ordered to remove her virgin status before strangling her. It's a loophole that mocks justice. Age limits? Gone. If you can walk and talk, you can commit treason. Insanity? No defense. It's proof of divine punishment. Guilt by association explodes. Slaves die for their master's crimes. Dinner guests are executed for not reporting treasonous table talk. Doctors face death for treating accused traitors. Judge Vibius Serenus invents preventive execution, killing people who might commit crimes based on their vibe. Judge Cotomelinus comes up with inherited intent, where kids are punished for their parents' supposed motives. Torture becomes standard, not just for confessions, but for witnesses. The logic? Pain ensures truth. Because people lie to protect friends. Confess too fast? You're hiding something. Resist? You're guilty of concealment. Trials turn into gruesome theater, with accusers hiring orators to spin charges. into emotional dramas. Evidence is presented in escalating horror, making conviction inevitable. Defenders who argue too well risk execution for aiding traitors. Judge Macro takes it further with sequential justice, executing families in order of emotional closeness, cousins, siblings, kids, spouses, using each death to pressure confessions. Parents watch their children die, hoping to save their partner, only to be executed anyway for the original crime, plus letting their family die. The archives document every step like a manual for sadism, creating precedents future. Emperors will use. The bureaucracy is massive. Clerks track bloodlines, archives store records of who dined with whom married whose sister. It's a surveillance state that makes modern tech look amateur. Capri's horrors continue. The minnows in their pools, the cliffs claiming lives. But Tiberius is about to take cruelty to a new level, weaponizing hope itself to break minds in ways physical. Pain never could. That brings us to the next layer of Tiberius's madness. WTF History? Fans. He's turned Capri into a nightmare factory, the empire into a snitch's paradise, and the law into a torture machine. Now, he's perfecting his cruelest trick, killing hope. This is where Tiberius gets inside people's heads, and trust me, it's chilling. Imagine you're Lucius Arruntius, locked in a Mamertine prison for 6 months, accused of some vague conspiracy. The darkness, the rats, the fear of execution, it's your whole world. Then the guards say, "Good news. The emperor's granted clemency. You're free." You stumble into the sunlight, half blind, half starved. Your wife sobs, your kids cling to you. For 3 days, life feels like a miracle. Real food, a soft bed, the sun on your face. Then, on the 4th morning, soldiers kick down your door. New evidence, they say. You're dragged back. Your wife screams, echoing. This is Tiberius's favorite game. False mercy. He studies prisoners like a scientist, learning what they love, family, food, freedom, and gives it to them just long enough to make the loss unbearable. Some get multiple reprieves. Gaius Silius, a senator, is freed and rearrested 7 times over 2 years. Each release is timed perfectly. Long enough to taste hope, too short to heal. By his final execution, Silius begs for death, his mind shattered. The unpredictability is key. Some reprieves last hours, others months. You never know if freedom is real or just another trap. Prisoners stop trusting joy. Stop trusting despair. They're stuck in a twilight where nothing feels safe. Some break completely. Marcus Lepidus tries to hang himself rather than face another cycle. Guards save him, nurse him back to health, then free him again, knowing he'll wait for the reversal. When it comes, he smiles like death is a release. Families suffer too. Wives unmourn and remourn their husbands. Kids grow up afraid to love parents who might vanish. Conditional reprieves are the worst. You're free if your brother confesses. Or you live as long as your son stays loyal. Prisoners become their own torturers, trapped in impossible choices. Tiberius documents this like a twisted scholar, writing letters to governors about timing reprieves for maximum pain. He charts emotional breaking, points by personality type, turning hope into a Roman innovation as brutal as any weapon. The system creates an economy. Families pay for hints about reprieve schedules. Guards sell rumors. Philosophers teach ways to survive the emotional whiplash. Physicians sell herbs to numb anticipation. Some prisoners go mad, and that's a problem. Tiberius needs them aware to suffer. He orders doctors to keep them sane, preserving their capacity for pain. The empire is crumbling. Trust is dead, conversations vague, public space is empty. People practice ambiguity to avoid accusation. Even thoughts feel dangerous, like informers can read your mind. The delator system keeps churning, with informers forging letters, staging meetings, planting evidence. Fulcinius accuses the dead, stripping families of their inheritance. On Capri, the minnows are still trapped, their lives a cycle of training and performance. Escape attempts are crushed, bodies displayed as warnings. Tiberius's body is falling apart. His sore's wheat pus, his smell is unbearable, his paranoia total. He's banned mirrors, forbidden portraits, surrounded himself with a disease court. Servants walk backward, wear hoods to avoid his face. One maid is strangled for gasping. His nights are filled with executions to drown his pain, his days with experiments in cruelty, treating lives like medicine. The court is rotting, gardens wilting, animals fleeing. Capri feels cursed. But Tiberius is about to take his horror to a new stage, turning the island's cliffs into a death machine where gravity becomes his executioner. Those cliffs are where we're headed next. WTF History? Squad. Tiberius has turned Capri into a nightmare, the Empire into a dystopia, and hope into a weapon. Now, he's making nature itself his executioner, using Capri's cliffs to create a new kind of terror. The cliffs are a 300-foot drop onto jagged rocks, with deep water to sweep away the bodies. It's perfect. No trials, no fuss, just a push. Marcus Flavius, a veteran centurion, thought guarding the cliff's base would be easy after surviving wars in Germania and Parthia. He's wrong. His job is to stand there with a hook club, ensuring no one survives the fall. Some do, broken, bleeding, begging for mercy he can't give. It's not the killing that breaks him. It's the waiting, the faces he can't forget. The executions are theater. Victims are marched to the edge, some told they're heading to exile until the last second reveals the truth. Others know from the start, making the slow walk worse. Tiberius loves groups, families, conspirators, random quotas, forced to watch each other go over. Parents see kids fall. Husbands watch wives pushed. The screams carry across the water, a warning to anyone near Capri. Guards stop victims from jumping early, denying them even that final choice. The rocks turn red, a stain the tides can't erase. Fishermen avoid the area, saying their nets come up tangled with horrors. Birds that feed there are cursed, their meat tainted. Marcus scratches marks on his shield to keep count, but stops after 100. The faces haunt him. The woman who smiled, the old man cursing the gods, the child calling for his mother. Another soldier, Quintus, keeps records, 847 bodies in a year, until the number breaks him. He sees them in his dreams, falling forever. One morning, he's found at the cliff's base, part of his own tally. Cliff duty is capped at a month after that. But even that's too long. In Rome, the empire is fraying. The delator system keeps turning neighbors into enemies. The cliff executions add dread. The screams carry to mainland towns. A reminder of Tiberius's power. The economy ties to his health. Grain prices drop with every cough, soar with every recovery. Romans pray for his death, but carefully, cursed tablets are buried. Prayers to death gods disguised. Assassination attempts fail, sparking purges. Celebrating his survival is mandatory, and people practice shocked faces for the next miracle. One false death rumor, spread by a corrupt messenger, triggers celebrations, wine, music, dancing. Tiberius lets it go for 3 days before revealing he's alive. The purge kills hundreds, including the messenger's family. Hope becomes a trap, and Romans adopt protective pessimism, refusing good news. Some flee to the frontiers, but informers follow, tracking gold and property. Leaving is proof of guilt. On Capri, Tiberius's body is a wreck. His sores weep, his smell unbearable, his paranoia total. Mirrors are banned, portraits forbidden, his court a mess of diseases. Servants walk backward, wear hoods. His nights are filled with executions, his days with experiments in cruelty. The minnows are still trapped, escape attempts crushed. But the empire's desperation for his death is growing, and it's about to reach a breaking point. That desperation is where we're going now. WTF History? Fans. By 36 AD, the empire is on its knees, praying for Tiberius to die. His reign has turned Rome into a dystopia, Capri into a horror show, and hope into a weapon. Let's dive into the final years, where the empire holds its breath for the end. Tiberius's health is a wreck. His sores are unbearable, his smell a cloud of rot. Physicians diagnose through side glances, prescribing useless ointments to avoid execution. The court is a mess of rashes and wasting diseases. Like his corruption is contagious. Servants walk backward, wear hoods, anything to avoid his face. One maid is strangled for gasping. Mirrors are banned, portraits forbidden, coins stuck with old images. He's a phantom ruling a terrified empire. The empire's economy is tied to his health. Grain prices crash with every cough, soar with every recovery. Romans pray for his death. But carefully, cursed tablets are buried, prayers to death gods disguised. Assassination attempts fail, sparking purges. One false death rumor triggers celebrations. Wine, music, dancing. Tiberius lets it go for 3 days before revealing he's alive, then purges hundreds. Hope is a trap, and Romans stop believing good news. Some flee to the frontiers, but informers follow, tracking gold and property. Leaving is proof of guilt. The delator system keeps churning, with informers forging letters, planting evidence. Fulcinius accuses the dead, stripping families of their inheritance. The law is a torture machine, with loopholes like inherited intent, ensuring no one escapes. Trials are theater, torture standard, families executed in order of emotional closeness. On Capri, the minnows are trapped in their pools, escape attempts crushed. The cliffs keep claiming lives, the rocks red with blood. Fishermen avoid the waters, saying their nets come up tangled with horrors. Soldiers like Marcus Flavius break under their hooked clubs. Tiberius's nights are filled with executions, his days with experiments in cruelty. The court is rotting, gardens wilting, animals fleeing. Capri feels cursed. By March 37 AD, Capri goes quiet. Supply ships return without orders. Messages go unanswered. The empire's clockwork grinds to a halt. No one dares celebrate, too. Many false alarms have taught them hope is a trick. Funeral preparations start in Rome before official word. A sign something big is happening. Hope turns to possibility, possibility to probability. But the empire stays silent, scarred by 2 decades of terror. The end is coming, and it's going to be explosive. We've reached the final chapter. WTF History? Fans. It's March 37 AD, and the empire is holding its breath, praying the monster is finally dead. Let's close out the horrifying reign of Tiberius. On March 16th, a servant creeps into Tiberius's chamber. 3 days of silence have built enough courage to check. The smell hits first. Rot beneath perfume, death's calling card. Tiberius lies twisted in silk sheets, eyes locked on some unseen horror, flies crawling. across his unblinking gaze. His pustules are still weeping, poisoning the fabric that'll be burned, not cleaned. The servant backs away, afraid the corpse might still judge him. Word spreads through Capri like wildfire. Servants step into sunlight. Guards drop weapons used for atrocities. In the pools, someone drains the water, as if evil could be flushed away. Signal fires light up. And on the mainland, the message spreads. He's dead. The whisper becomes a shout, the shout a roar. To the Tiber with Tiberius. It starts in Rome's poorest quarters, where his victims were. Countless, and spreads through markets, forums, streets. Senators find courage in the crowd. Neighbors who snitched embrace, forgiving in the heat of relief. Wine flows, music plays. Dances erupt. Rome screams its joy. But the scars are deep. Kids raised under terror don't understand the celebration. Adults flinch from happiness, expecting another trick. 2 decades of fear can't be undone by one corpse. The empire debates what to do with the body. Tradition demands a state funeral, divine honors. But Tiberius isn't traditional. Senators want him tossed in the Tiber like a criminal. The crowd chants, but the government stalls, paralyzed by the contradiction of a divine monster. Capri's secrets spill out. The pools reveal small bones, wordless stories of horror. Hidden rooms hold instruments of unspeakable purpose. Archives list victims across decades, names crossed out with cold precision. Survivors emerge, minnows, now young adults, blinking and forgotten. Sunlight, women kept for reasons no one will name, walking free on shaky legs. Each story adds to Tiberius's legacy of terror. The legal system faces impossible questions. How do you prosecute a dead emperor? How do you compensate victims of imperial decree? How do you dismantle a machine of terror without becoming a monster? Every institution bears his fingerprints, every law book his precedents. Some want to burn the records, abandon Capri, pretend it never happened. Others demand documentation, saying the horror must be remembered. Pragmatism wins. Tiberius gets a quiet burial. His ashes interred while Rome looks away. The Tiber flows on, denied the symbolic cleansing the mob wanted. The minnows are freed, but never free, carrying memories time can't erase. Families reunite with ghosts of lost children. Informers reinvent themselves, though neighbors don't forget. Capri's villas crumble, filled with sand and silence. Fishermen call the island cursed. Claiming screams echo on quiet nights. Tiberius's legacy is a warning. He showed what happens when power meets pathology, how easily atrocity becomes routine. His precedents, torture, terror, industrialized cruelty, echo through centuries. Future emperors like Caligula take notes, some with horror, others with interest. Rome survived, but it's changed. Freedom tastes different after fear. Trust is a slow rebuild, hope a fragile thing. The servant who found Tiberius's body never speaks of what he saw in those dead eyes. Fear, surprise, emptiness. Most agree on the last. Tiberius died as he lived, alone with the horror of what he'd become, no mirrors to hide the truth. Thanks for sticking with us through this insane journey. WTF History? Fans, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. What's the wildest history story you want us to tackle next? Stay curious and stay away from cursed islands.